So we are Diversity Engine. We're a group of intersectional data scientists and analysts. So we've used STEM to solve diversity. I say solve it in a really obtuse way. And we're going to use the Diversity Engine to do this. So we listened yesterday to we listened to a talk by Dr. Ozaki Izu, and she addressed the need for diverse strands to feel like they belong to something in the workplace. We believe this is a secret to having a diverse workforce and encouraging people into those kind of careers. The way we feel that we can do this is by providing evidence to people. So make the people who currently don't care, by providing the evidence they need. So provide a reason for them to be engaged with us. So to do that, we've come up with this diversity engine. Here we go.
Thank you. So we all know that diversity and inclusion are at the heart of organizational success, and in particular at the heart of innovation, social mobility, and equality. And there is a lot of evidence out there in the media suggesting that more diverse organizations do generally perform better and actually are 29% more profitable. But we do know also that a lot of the organizations, when it comes to diversity, they use very dry, conventional statistics to measure if a company is diverse or not. So if we take the gender pay gap, on average, the gender pay gap in the UK is 18.4%. But what about I'm going to give a personal example, the insurance companies, where board representation and females being represented at board levels is rare. How do you measure gender pay gap there? So essentially what we're finding out is two major problems when it comes to quantifying or measuring diversity. So organizations generally do not have the resources or the know-how to evaluate the impact of these initiatives. So they do invest in a lot of learning programs, like I'm going to give an example, He for She, which has been a lot in the media. But do you actually know what the impact is beyond just the numbers of people who've signed up and went through that program? Also, existing measures often look at diversity at one strand, just in a particularly one strand. So we either talk just about gender diversity or just talk about ethnic diversity. So how do we merge that? How do we get that holistic 360 view of what diversity is? So what we are suggesting is essentially an open source analytical toolkit to generalize personalized diversity profiles and actionable insights. We do know that there's a lot of talk in the media about ethics in AI, and we do know that sometimes AI could have inherited biases. That's why it's important to point out we don't just want to rely on AI or on the toolkit itself. We do need expert consultation to go packaged or in synchronization with the toolkit. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to measure this? So as a start, we're going to do exploratory data analysis, or essentially just look at national demographic and organizational data, which is the conventional type of measuring diversity, such as recruitment data, spending on diversity-related initiatives, gender, age, sexual orientation, etc. I'm not going to go into all of these. The interesting bit starts when you start using unstructured data, which not a lot of companies are making use of, and in particular, applying natural language processing. An example would be when you think about a meeting. How are you going to measure if the people in that meeting are equally represented? In this case, how are we going to use, we're suggesting using voice recognition, and in particular, transcribing these voices into text and then applying natural language processing to assess what's the relative contributions of males versus females, or what's the relative contribution in that meeting of different ethnic minorities. Are they actually represented in the meeting? Do they actually have a voice? Further then, once transcribed into text, an additional natural language processing analysis could be implemented to assess offensive and toxic language, in particular creating dictionaries which create abusive or derogatory language to prevent harassing or bullying in meetings. And finally, we're looking at incorporating supervised learning, or essentially identify diversity factors, or by clustering different indicators, what makes a team diverse versus a team which is not diverse. What are some of the characteristics that define this? Probably something that I should have pointed earlier, and one of the issues that we've had was around confidentiality. It should be pointed out that we do not want to own the data. The data would be owned by the company, and the data is intended to be anonymized. But just to end the presentation, I'll just end it with a quote we just thought about in the last 1 minute. How can you improve what you can't measure? Thank you.